Hey everyone, in this video we'll discuss how we can migrate our data from Google BigQuery to Amazon S3. So this will be a multi-cloud setup. We'll use AWS Glue, AWS S3 and Amazon Athena to preview the data. So I'll divide this video in 5 parts. The first part would be discovering the BigQuery database. We'll see all the parameters that we'll be needing for transferring the data. The next part will be downloading the required connector, and also we'll configure the connector that will be downloading from AWS Marketplace. In the next part, we'll configure the IAM role in AWS. We'll also configure the service account at Google Cloud End. We'll download the required JSON file. In the next part, we'll be configuring our Glue job, and we'll also run the job to get the data in S3. In the next part, we'll crawl the data from S3 and we'll preview it in Amazon Athena. So let's get started. So here I am in the BigQuery console. So I have pinned the BigQuery public data that is available to everyone. It's free of cost, and you can view the data inside it. You can also run some simple queries in it. Google won't charge you for this. So if I click on this expand button, it will show us all the schema that is available inside it. Let's say we are interested in this COVID-19 Italy data. So we'll click on it, and it will show us the tables inside it. So if I click on this particular table, data by province, so it will show us the schema of this table and the details and the preview. So these are the data that is present in this particular table. So we'll migrate this particular table into S3 and then we'll preview it in Athena. In the next part, we'll discuss how we can download the connector. So now I am in the AWS Marketplace console. I'll go to this hamburger menu and I'll click on Discover Products. So we'll search for the BigQuery connector. I'll type BigQuery and I'll hit enter. So in the first result, you will see the AWS BigQuery connector. You'll see several different connectors as well, but these are third-party connectors. So I'd recommend to use this particular one with version 0.24.2. So I'll click on it. So then I'll click on continue to subscribe. I'll click on continue to configuration. So here I'll go with the latest Glue 3.0, and I'll choose the latest version as well. So next I'll click on launch. So next we need to activate the connector. So in order to activate the connector, click on the usage instructions, and then here you will see the option for activating the connector. Just click on that, activate the Glue connector from AWS Glue Studio. So it will take you to a new tab. So here you will see the connector properties and the connector name. Here we'll put a name to it. Let's say BigQuery October. So now the AWS secret part, we need to provide the AWS secret as well, which will contain the credentials from Google Cloud. So in the latter part of this video, we'll add this as well. For now, we'll only create the connection and activate the connector. So next we'll be configuring the IAM role in Google Cloud. So we'll create one service account and we'll provide the necessary permission to the service account. So in the IAM console, I navigated to the service account part. I'll click on create service account. Let's name it BQ2S3 and create. So now I'll provide the permission. Let's provide BigQuery admin permission, so that will have all the access for the BigQuery. I'll click done. So now we have our service account get created. So next we'll download the JSON key for the service account. So for that we'll click on manage keys, and we'll click on add key, and we'll click create new key. So we'll choose the JSON and we'll hit and create. So it will download the key for us. So now we have the JSON key downloaded. So we'll go to downloads and open the key. I'll open it in Notepad. So we need to upload this into the AWS Secrets Manager. So next we need to convert this key into base64 format because our connector supports the key to be in base64 format. So before uploading the key into AWS Secrets Manager, we need to convert it. So we'll visit this site, that is toolworks.googlelabs.com/encode/_decode. So here we can convert our JSON key to any format that you want. So I'll quickly open a new tab, and so here we'll paste the JSON key, and I'll click on base64 encode, and here I'll choose plain text, and I'll click on submit. So if you see, so this is our base64 encoded key. I'll copy it, and I'll paste it in the Notepad for the future reference. Let's now upload our base64 encoded key into AWS Secrets Manager. So I'll click on store new secret, and I'll choose other type of secret, and in the value put credentials. Don't put any other value other than credentials, because our connector will read it as credentials only. So just put it as credentials, and the next value part will simply paste the base64 encoded value. So I'll hit next. Let's name it BQ service account key, and let's keep everything else as default, and just hit next and click on store. So I'll refresh it, and we have our key here. So now let's create a role to run our Glue job. So it should have a Glue role access, and it should also have the EC2 container registry read-only access, because it has to download the connector from the EC2 container registry. It will also need the S3 access, because it has to load the data from BQ into S3 bucket. So let's create a role, and we'll provide the necessary permissions. So in the IAM console, just go to roles and click on create role, and choose the trusted entity type as AWS service, and let's choose our service as Glue, and I'll hit next. The permissions, let's choose Glue service role, and I'll also choose EC2 container registry read-only permission. So this is the one. Also we'll be needing the S3 access, so I'll be providing the S3 full access to my role. So I'll hit next. I'll name it as BQ to S3 role. So we have added these three access: Glue service role, S3 full access, and EC2 container registry read only. Now I'll click on create role. So now we have our role created. We also need another role that I forgot to add, that is the secrets manager access, because we are adding our secrets to secrets manager. So we'll also add the secrets manager read write access. So I'll click on attach policy and I'll choose this secrets manager read write, and I'll attach this policy as well. So yeah, now we are good to go. Now we have the IAM part done. So let's come back to our Glue console. So first we need to add our secrets that we added into our connection that we created earlier. So for that I'll click on connections. So if you see here, we have the connector, and below is the connection that we created. So I'll click on that, I'll click on edit, and I'll simply add the key that we added in our AWS secrets manager, and we'll hit and save. Now we'll create the job to bring our data from BigQuery to S3. So for that we'll click on the connection and we'll hit and create job. So it will create a by default node for us. So from here let's add one target node, and I'll choose S3, and I'll browse my S3 bucket and I'll choose one. So I've already created a bucket with the name BigQuery October 2022. So I'll just paste the bucket name and I'll hit a slash in the end. So now let's configure our BigQuery node. So here basically we need to add two things. First is the Google Cloud project name, and next would be the table name. So I'll copy the details from my Google Cloud account and I'll paste them here. So here the key would be the parent project, and I'll go to my Google Cloud console and I'll choose my project ID. So this is my project ID, and I'll copy it and I'll paste it here as a value. So in the next part we'll add the table name. So we need to provide the complete table name. So we'll go to BigQuery console and we'll copy it from there. So here I'm in the BigQuery console. So if you click on the details of the table, you should be seeing the table ID. So I'll copy it and I'll paste it here as a value of table, and that is it. Next we'll go to job details and we'll put a name. So let's put it as BigQuery to S3. Next we need to choose the IAM role. So we'll choose the one that we created, BQ to S3 role. The glue version would be 3. So here I'll change the number of retries to 0. So that's it. Let's keep everything else as default. We don't need to add any additional parameters here. So I'll hit save. So now our job has been saved. I'll click on run. So I'll go to run and I will monitor the run here. So I'll skip the video till the running of the job gets completed. So now the job run has been succeeded. So we'll go to our S3 location and see if we have the files or not. So here I'm in the S3 console, and here is the bucket BigQuery October 2022. So if you see, the files has been created. So our job is successful. So in the next part we'll create a crawler in Glue, and we'll crawl this data and we'll view them in Athena. So now I'm back in the AWS Glue console. So in order to click a crawler, I'll click on the crawler. So I'll click on create crawler and I will put a name. Let's name it BigQuery data, and I'll hit next. So here in add data source, I'll click on add a data source. Here you will choose the data source as S3. and then we'll just specify our bucket name where our data is. So since it's in this bucket, so we'll choose this particular bucket. So I'll choose this one. So here we want to crawl everything each time it runs, and we'll also gonna crawl if there is any subfolders. We don't have any subfolders, but I'll keep this option as by default, and I'll hit on add an S3 data source. So then I'll hit next. Then we need to choose an IAM role for this. So we can choose the existing role that we created earlier to run the Glue job. So now I have specified the role, that is BQ to S3 role. Everything else will keep as by default. So next we need to specify a database. Let's create a database. We'll specify the name as BigQuery data, and I'll hit and create database. So now we have the database created. I'll go back to the previous window and we'll choose, let's refresh it once more. Yeah, we can see the database here. We'll choose that, and we can also specify a table prefix. I'll keep it as BQ underscore, and we'll keep the crawler frequency as on demand. I mean, whenever I click on run, it will run. Otherwise we can specify any schedule that you want. Next I'll hit next, and I'll hit and create crawler. So I'll refresh this page, and we can see our crawler over here. So now I'll just select it and I'll hit and run. So now I'll skip this video till that run gets successful. So now the run has been completed. If you see here, it says the last run has been succeeded and one table has been created. So now let's go to our databases page, and we'll click on the database. We'll see if we have any tables or not. So if you see, a table has been created, and since we have the data is in JSON format, it says the classification as JSON. So now we need to view the data in Athena. So I'll simply select this, and I'll click on the table data. So it will take us to a new tab where it will open the Athena console. So before running any query in Athena, we need to specify the S3 location where the query result can be stored. So to specify S3 location, we can click on the settings, and we can click on manage, and here we can specify our bucket. Let's choose the same bucket. I'll just paste it out, and I'll hit and save. So now I'll go to editor, and I'll click on this table, and I'll click on preview data. So if you see, we are successfully able to see the data in Athena as well. So we have successfully migrated our data from Google BigQuery to S3 location, and we now can view the data inside AWS Athena as well. To summarize this video, we did 5 things. First, we understood various things in BigQuery database. Then we downloaded the connector from AWS Marketplace, and then we configured the IAM role in AWS, and we configured the service account in Google Cloud, and we downloaded the JSON as well. We also converted that JSON into base64 format so that it can be compatible with the connector that we downloaded. In the next part, we created a new job in Glue, and we specified the connection, and in the next part we run that, and we get our data in S3 location. So after getting the data in S3 location, we created a table using Glue crawler. For that, we created a crawler and a new database, and after creating the crawler, we run the crawler to crawl the data, and then in the final step we specified the query result location in Athena, and we query the data. We just hit in preview data to see the data. So if you see, this is the same table that we fetched from BigQuery, which contains some COVID-19 Italy data. So that is it in this video. If you like the video, you can hit like and you can subscribe the channel for more related contents. Thank you.